Welcome, everybody. We are back in. It is season 4. It is episode 5. And we are here today with RhysDouglas, formerly known as CtrlGodDammit, but now trading under his name, RhysDouglas, currently doing a Build a Nation save. We're in FM with Lech Poznan in Poland and currently Poland manager as well. His link and tags are underneath at the moment. Make sure you go check him out. Drop a follow. More stuff coming out on YouTube at some point in the near future as well, I understand, Rhys.
Yeah, that's the hope, is just to rekindle where it started. So yeah, YouTube is where I first began, again under CtrlGodDammit as well. But after the evolution and the boom of Twitch and whatnot, which I think is a better platform for Let's Play saves, just wanted to reignite my love of experiments and just little one-off videos, which I think are better for a YouTube format. So it'd be good to revisit that and just see how it goes.
Perfect. So you will be able to find Rhys on YouTube as well, obviously Twitter as well. That's where you'll find out where everything drops. But today we are here for In the Box With. We will start off, as we always do, with question number 1, which is, what was your first real memory of football?
I quite enjoyed this because I did have to do a fair bit of thinking. So it's not necessarily, but my first thoughts with memories of football is kind of like a summer, to be honest.
Right. Okay.
So it goes back to primary school when we had the 2002 World Cup.
Brilliant.
And my first proper memory, unfortunately, was that Ronaldinho free kick. Because when that game was going on between England and Brazil, local time for ourselves, kickoff was like 7:30 in the morning. So by the time we'd all been dropped off at primary school, we'd all been dropped off there early. And I remember in our classroom, the teacher had set up a TV in the corner, which had the game going on at the minute. So instead of everyone just chatting and communicating in the playground, because it was, a decent enough day, it was and whatnot, I remember going in, and we were all just crowded around this tiny little, like, proper old school big box of a TV as well, all just watching the game. But unfortunately, school started before the end of the match, but we had we'd all seen that Ronaldinho free kick. We saw we were losing 2-1, and then school had to start, and we're like, did we get back into it? What's happened? It was heartbreak eventually, because obviously we didn't progress any further, but that was my first proper memory of it. But it did expand into a really good summer, because in that same year, there'd been a competition with Norwich City Football Club. So I live in Norfolk, and our big local team is Norwich, and they'd had a competition running in schools to do this like poster competition. And 2 of the students in our class won the competition, which was that basically everyone within our set class got tickets as a class to go and see a Norwich game. So we'd had the World Cup, and as it went into the start of the new season, we got to see, it's not the most prestigious of matches, but it's my first ever proper big match, was Norwich versus Gillingham. And so I got to see it. Absolutely. I think we won 1-0. So just like, oh, cool. So, that was my first exposure to like a big stadium as well, going to Carrow Road. And, when you're like primary school and you're pretty little, seeing over 20,000 people there, was like, oh my God, this is incredible. So those were my 2 first memories. So I'm probably quite spoilt, in my opinion. It was really fun to reminisce and think back about them.
2 teams in yellow getting to win in your first 2 matches you remember.
Yeah, fair enough. That kind of set a precipice for my footballing life.
Brilliant. So obviously you mentioned 2002, and obviously question 2 is the first major tournament. So there's the standout moment you remember. Is that the first major tournament you remember, or is actually your real leading memory?
My first tournament was actually a little bit later, because I would say that as far as my history with football is concerned, it never really totally sparked off until the start of high school. When I went into high school and my social group started to grow a little bit, everyone was, again, based in Norwich, in Norfolk. So Norwich was the big local team that everybody supported. And obviously, as I made friends, rubbed off on me, and became a Norwich fan that way. But although my first memory that I could think of was that Ronaldinho goal, hadn't really followed the tournament itself. I think I was probably too young for that. And in my family, the sporting history is probably a bit more rugby. My dad played rugby to a pretty high standard.
Right. Okay.
So football was never a massive thing in our family. So my first tournament memory was actually probably Euro 2004.
Yes.
And where I lived at the time was a place called RAF Coltishall. So I'm an RAF baby. My dad was in the RAF. And there was a social club within the residential campus area that would go down to and would watch the games from there. And I remember we went down on a couple of occasions to go and watch the England match, and it was a fantastic pub atmosphere, but it was a family atmosphere as well. People would bring your families down. So it wasn't utterly rowdy mental England fans. It was a nice exposure where the kids were able to run around. I remember there was like a little food van outside that people could bring food in and all of that good stuff. And they had a massive projector that they brought down. So you got this huge screen, almost cinema feel. It was amazing. And the big controversial moment of Euro 2004 that I do clearly remember, that was the last game, was the Sol Campbell goal that got ruled out against Portugal. Which would have sent us to the semi-finals. And it wasn't until years later that the referee of that match said, no, I had no fault with Campbell scoring. I blew up for John Terry interfering with play with crikey, whoever the Portuguese goalkeeper was. Was it Ricardo or something along those lines?
Could have been Ricardo.
Don't have the best of memories there, but so that was a time when Ronaldo, I think, was still 17 for Portugal and wasn't a big thing there. Actually, was that might have been the tournament with the whole Rooney stamp
it wasn't
getting sent off and Ronaldo wink? Was that a bit later?
That was the World Cup in 2006. So 2004 was when
together.
when Rooney burst onto the scene and then got injured, and everyone was saying, had he been fit, we would have won. But I think he got injured in the final group game and then didn't play against Portugal. And then he decided to stamp on Carvalho in the next one. But I'll tell you what, if you're Sol Campbell, you've got to be gutted because he scored the winner against Argentina as well, and had that disallowed because of an Alan Shearer push. And then John Terry gets in on the action. So people just really didn't like Sol Campbell. And I'll be honest, some of the things Sol Campbell said since he's retired from football, it's easy to not really like him.
If his domestic change of club wasn't controversial enough, he hasn't helped himself out too much.
No. So the 2004 tournament was the first one you really remember. What was it that really stood out on that? Was it that Sol Campbell goal then that you really remember?
That was the big moment. We as a family, we came to watch a couple of games, and obviously grew with interest, grew with excitement, as it always does when you reach the knockout rounds. And that was the big moment. I just remember being sat there as a kid and all the highlights, and naturally everyone totally England biased going, he was watching the ball the entire time, he's not fouled anybody, how's this possibly been ruled out? Basically every single analysis under the sun, and that's what springs out the most was just all of your generic football geniuses with their pints in hand clearly saying there's nothing wrong with that.
Yes. Yeah. Fair enough. Cool. Okay. So we move on. Question number three. When you play football, what is your most consistent position? Where do you play most regularly?
So most regularly I played at left back. Okay. So when I was when you first start playing football at school, right up until probably about midway through college, I was always the overweight kid.
Okay.
Much, not the happiest of memories with high school. Definitely happy memories with the football. But so I was the overweight kid, got picked on quite a lot. But what naturally happens as a result with that is the slower kids are usually the ones that are thrown in goal or in defence in your PE sessions and you play football. Because I was left-footed, I was put at left back. It wasn't a genius move. It was just 1 + 1 makes 2. There you go. It was as simple as that. Absolutely. And again, relinking into getting exposure with Norwich City, becoming a fan with them through the friends that I'd had, I started, paying attention to left-sided footballers. So Adam Drury became a massive hero of mine because he was club captain of Norwich for a long time.
Yes.
He'd been famously quoted as the best left back ever outside of the Premiership and the like from there. So he became a massive idol of mine that I actually did get the wonderful opportunity to meet for about 30 seconds once, which was one of my favorite ever things. Not to sidetrack too much, but I took part in the Norwich 10K a few years ago before the pandemic hit us. And as I was crossing over the finish line, they had a couple of famous people who were handing the, finishers medals out. And I just, I was just panting and just, completely cream crackered and just trudging along, head down, just like, oh my God, I'm absolutely done in. And next thing I know, I've got Adam Drury, one of my footballing heroes, just handling me a medal saying congratulations. So like, and not even thinking, I just went completely informal and just went, oh, cheers, Adam. And just walked off. I was like, I can't believe I've just referred to him as Adam. I'm just glad I was able to keep cool in that moment and I didn't have a fanboy of, oh, thank you very much, Mr. Drury.
Cheers, Adam is probably the better option to be honest,
absolutely.
In hindsight.
It was. So much happy with that. It was left back that I predominantly played at. I tried to play. I always wanted to be a left winger. I think, again, with the time, Darren Huckabee was such a massive legend at Norwich City. Although he was right-footed, the fact he played at left wing was just, something, that I really loved. And again, let's ignore the off-field side of things. But we had, Ryan Giggs still being, such a versatile and consistent player in the Premier League. And I'm half Welsh myself, so it was just so easy to put two and two together there, and eventually moved on into loving Gareth Bale as a result. Just some famous left wingers. Found out eventually I could hit the ball quite strongly, so perhaps the odd little comparison to wanted to be the play park Roberto Carlos. Like, I'll play left back, but I'll try and shoot it from anywhere if I can help it.
Don't expect any through balls.
Absolutely. During college, when I finally got interested in the gym and started to lose a bit of the weight, get a little bit more agile. I was still quite a large sized guy, I think that comes from my dad again, from his rugby history. So I've always been quite well built. I've been very fortunate with that. So played a little bit as a target man up front on the odd occasion as well. But I would say left back was definitely my number one position, and thoroughly enjoyed it. It's just as a kid, you always want to attack a bit more and get involved with the goals, don't you?
Yeah, and I think as a kid, though, it's sometimes it's just about playing the football and enjoying playing the football. I mean,
absolutely.
I see some people who are berating the kids. You've got the parents on the sideline, and they've got no idea.
To see that.
And then they've got one big kid, and they're putting him up front and saying, "Just kick it to him." And it's like it takes the whole fun out of it, and there's no sort of build up in the football. And there is that almost win at all costs mentality for people who are managing kids teams. And I find that so bizarre, because you're not going to get sacked if you lose a few games, because it's kids football and you're not employed by a club. You're doing it as a volunteer. People tend not to sack volunteers unless they are really dodgy. So
unless they're a controversial person rather than the actual output on the pitch and whatnot. The focus should always be a case of enjoyment, and at that age it's developing social skills. And if you've got parents showing those social skills, it's going to be remembered by them, and it's going to lead them down the wrong path. It's a very sad thing.
It is indeed. So question 4.
Yes.
If you could have done one thing that would have enhanced your footballing ability, what would it have been?
Although we've just touched on it, and perhaps it was to my benefit that I didn't. I've always been quite an introverted person. I've been very shy. It's taken me a long time to expand upon growing self-confidence, confidence in speaking, not necessarily to strangers, but to people you don't know very regularly. So as a child, I was never outspoken. I was one that always kept to myself. And I must admit, if there was one thing that I wish I could have done, it would have been to ask my parents to take part in more events as a child. So to have found clubs to have gone in, to have, you know, made more friends that way, to have done more exercise, and yeah, just to have fallen in love with the sport even more, rather than it taking as long as it did in my life. And as I said, not really kicking in with me on a domestic level until I went to high school and started supporting Norwich.
Yeah.
So I really wish that I could have taken part in much younger, like, you know, from year 4 to 6 groups onwards, to meet others, get those basic technical skills hammered in, and yeah, be able to enjoy myself, and like I say, just get that base level of footballing ability in. I must admit, as an adult, I feel like I've had to go really back to the start. I've found it thoroughly useful, as well as perhaps a little bit embarrassing, where some of the like little tutorial videos, YouTube has become massive for helping just learn more basics. I'm not one to find, hey, how do I hit the best possible knuckleball ability? But you know, just trying to find how, you know, little drills to improve your first touch, to be better at close ball control, and little videos like that social media, for all of its flaws, it's a really fantastic thing to help. Looking up those little bits, which has helped me massively. I take part in a charity dad's five-a-side league, and I do find those videos really helpful in terms of correct stretches, correct warm-ups, and yeah, just little techniques to try and keep better control of the ball, make sure I'm looking in the right direction to try and, you know, find passes to teammates and whatnot. And yeah, I just wish it's something I'd done as a child to grow up with. So yeah, that would have been an amazing thing.
Yeah. I think, you know, we've had a few people who have kind of found that love for football, not, I wouldn't say early, but you know, you're sort of 11 plus, and you're learning something then, but you're sort of also at that point in time trying to grow into your body shape is changing on a consistent basis.
Oh, absolutely.
And it makes it hard because obviously coordination and things like that is changing. So it's a really awkward time. So as you say, you know, learning earlier would have had that huge benefit, because then you wouldn't have had to worry about learning a sport. You would have only had to worry about the body changes within it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And we've had a few people, and I always remember, I go back to a comment that was made, I kind of made the follow-up. I remember playing probably about 15 years ago, and there was a guy who was playing for us who was 26, 27, very fit, very quick, was at very best a just below average footballer. But one of the things someone said was, oh, but he's only been playing football for about 6 or 7 years. He didn't really have much interest in it before. And when I watched him play, it looked like watching an under 10s game. There was no positional sense or anything. He ran wherever the ball went. And because he was fit and quick, he felt he could.
Yeah.
And it was really bizarre to watch, because when someone said he's only been playing 6 or 7 years, and I just remember watching him and I was thinking, yeah, he's playing like someone who I would expect to have only been playing for 6 or 7 years, maybe, under 10s or something like that. So, yeah, it is bizarre. If you don't have those fundamentals built in early, then how much it can have a potential impact on how you play later.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Well, cool. Okay, so question number 5, the big 5. What are the 5 key attributes you feel are needed to become a top level footballer? And we're not talking any position specific. Literally, these are the 5 things that someone would need to reach the top of the game.
Fair enough. I would only do this based upon my exposure to football and what I would say are 5 attributes that I would use, because like you say, I've not played every single position in the world, so I don't know what they are all going to require, but I love that you use the terminology attributes, because as football managers I immediately just started thinking of a player character going, right, which are the top 5, but I know it can be a bit more broader than specifically saying it. But I did note some down, and I have noted down the football manager attribute and slightly expanded on it as well. So
to be fair, most people have gone
with this.
Yeah, and most people have gone with some sort of FM style. Yeah.
No worries at all. Let's go for it then. So I do have quite like what I call a magic trio within Football Manager, which are the first 3 I put here. So the first one for me is work rate.
Yeah.
So to expand on that, what I mean is this is something that I'm perfectly at fault for so much during five-a-side football, is if I'm on the ball, I'm taking too much time to pick out a pass, or if I'm just tackled well by a defender, it's so easy for me to just go, oh, bloody hell.
Yeah.
And stay still. But during that moment that you've stayed still for half a second, they're gone. So by work rate, it's a case of don't let your head drop. If you do lose the ball, or if you're out of possession, or if the score is against you at the time, just never stop working. Always keep yourself moving. And that way, if you're always moving, you are helping dictating the tempo of the play, because if everyone stood still, it's, you know, the game itself is just going to really slow down. It's not a case of having to sprint for 90 minutes. It's just making sure that you're making little movements, you're putting yourself in the right area. And like you said, if you do lose out on the ball, make sure that you're working as hard as you can to try and win the ball back for your team. So yeah, it's very mentally based in trying to have as much mental strength as you can. And work rate's my first one there.
Cool.
My second one is, it does run in quite closely, and so that is determination.
Yeah.
So with work rate, it is a case of, as I mentioned, more a case of don't let your head drop. And that runs in with determination, which is okay. It might not be, you might find yourself 2-0 down in an 11-a-side game, but that doesn't mean that the game's over by any means. We've seen it so much in every level of every single game. So it's just a case of all you can do is the best that you can possibly do. And that's it. That's all anyone could ever ask of you. So just challenge yourself to do that. If things are up against you, don't feel that you have to do too much. It's also a case of use that determination to say, look, you know what strengths you and your team have. Make sure that you're still playing to them, and don't feel that because things are going against you, you've got to try something different. I believe very much from a tactical perspective to stick to your principles. And the only reason that you would change from a tactical perspective is if the formation isn't working, or if there are particular threats that you need to cater to from the opposition. But if you have a basis of the way in which you play football, absolutely stick with it. And just because it's not going well in one game doesn't mean it's not going to work at all. So stick with your principles, and just don't give up. Just don't give up. Simple as that. The third one is teamwork. And this is something I've noticed a lot from the five-a-side league that I take part in. So by teamwork, it's a case of don't be greedy. I have seen there is a massive variance of ability from the league that I play in, and I'm towards the lower end. I'm by no means going to big myself up here. I'm a case of like, look, I want to just play the simple game, pass it around, have a good laugh. It's a great social event. There are players that you do see have got good technical play, are perhaps still in their 20s. They've got plenty of agility and whatnot. But what I would want to do is make sure that they need to be a team player, because I see a couple of players in particular who do have a clever little touch. They'll try to do a little trick, but they'll try to do everything themselves. And I just wish that they could see how much more effective they would be if they did those tricks, maybe to give themselves half a yard to pass it, instead of having to try and gun down that wing or cut it inside or take the shot when the angle is so narrow. You don't have to do it all yourself. Be a team player. As I say, as much as I've grown an ability to be able to hit powerful shots, I'm very happy with the way that I can finish on occasion when I'm on the best form with my left foot, being a left footer. However, I get just as much thrill from just being able to play a simple cutback or a simple pass to let someone tap it in. And guess what? Those goals in five-a-side tally up really quickly. So I get just as much thrill from assists and whatnot, and just playing a good, solid game. So teamwork is huge. Don't be greedy. Be a team player.
And I've touched on this with the team I manage, where I've had a few people who do try and do too much on their own, and they do it in the wrong places. And I've done the same thing with multiple people, where I've picked the ball up and I've kicked it and told them to race the ball, and they never win. And the idea
that's from goal, isn't it? I've seen that scene in goal.
I've never seen goal, so I can openly
fair enough.
I have not robbed it from goal. I've never seen the film. But yeah, I feel I may have come up with that.
No, it's exactly the same principle. The
Yeah.
lad that they bring in is like, oh, he's got all these fantastic skills, and he goes to Newcastle, doesn't he? And the coach just says, all right, I want you to run as fast as ball. And yeah, he wellies it as fast as possible. And yeah, you said the key is like, you are never as fast as the ball can be.
No, yeah, exactly. So pass the ball, run, and get onto the end of the ball. Don't try and dribble with the ball yourself. Move the ball.
Yeah,
let the ball do
I've got nothing against the player being able to carry the ball, and I think it's a very good skill to have. What I would probably want to highlight with my point with teamwork is not to discourage trying skills and whatnot. It's to identify the right time to use them. And definitely encourage it, because like people who do have that skill ability is a rarity, and I would hate to shut that down. I would never discourage anyone from doing it. I would say just do it for the benefit of the team, not for you.
Yeah, I would say, if you've got one person in front of you and there is the space to run into behind, beat that man.
Yeah.
When you're on the edge of your own area and you're defending a corner, trying to beat the two men in front of you, probably not the best option.
Yep, fair enough.
Number 4.
What else have we got? Technique. So I think technique is hugely important. And it goes back to a couple of points that I've raised earlier in terms of what the early question, what do I wish I'd done differently to enhance my ability as a footballer? And like I said, as an adult, using social media to use those little tutorial videos about, okay, if you're looking to do different style of passes, this is the ball position that you're looking at hitting with which area of your boot, doing little cone drills and whatnot to be able to improve your close control ability, so that if you are being marked closely or in tight areas, you'll have the ability to be able to hold on to the ball and hopefully be able to find those passes as well. So in terms of ability for passing, ability for shooting, confidence to be able to carry the ball forwards, I suppose, in case of counterattacks and whatnot. I think that technique is hugely advantageous. And again, it doesn't need to be the most high end of technique. It is just a case of, if you do have that close ball control, that is going to be able to set you apart from others. Absolutely.
If you can make sure your first touch does not result in your second touch having to be a tackle, then you're doing well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. I like that. Technique is key. Technique. Anyone who says technique or first touch or something like that, it is massive, because otherwise you're not a footballer. You've got all of the other attributes, but there's nothing to do with football. But yeah, cool. Number 5 for me is actually strength. Okay. So regardless of how referees may be treating our modern game now, football is still a contact sport. Now, obviously, I am not encouraging us to try and turn football into rugby by any means. And I understand that perhaps our British philosophy is a bit more on the more physical side to other European nations and the world over, perhaps. But I think what I'm trying to say by strength is, don't be afraid to use it. This goes back to a number of points I've made during this chat, in that, when I was younger, I was far more introverted, I was far more shyer. But thanks to my dad, I've got this, I've inherited a good build. And the amount of times I can remember playing like five-a-side football in university with just some friends in a casual league there. And the amount of times that one of the other guys on my team goes like, "Rhys, you're a big lad, use it." It's like throw your weight around. And because I was too shy and nervous to do it, like, I don't know why, but it's just something in my head going, oh, I don't want to hurt anyone or anything like that. But when I started using it, it's a case of, it's like, I'm not throwing anyone to the ground. I'm just putting in a strong challenge. We're both like, trying to hold our ground, and it is a fun challenge. And it was just getting over that mental gap of, you're not hurting anyone, you are just being physical, you are holding on to the ball, you're stopping yourself from getting tackled. When you're both going up or jumping into the air, then you're just trying to outstrength them. There's nothing negative in that. It is a case of, use your strength to your advantage. And being physical in the game is absolutely huge. I'm sure any Wolves fans will just look at Adama Traore. I think he's gone on loan now at the time of recording Barcelona,
this. But there's a perfect example of it. Now, again, we've already mentioned, a technique, which perhaps Traore would be able to benefit for getting more goals and whatnot. So, but he's definitely got the strength bit laid down. I think in terms of some of my aspirations, like if I could have been any footballer, I think as much as I would love to say, yes, I would love, because of my position as when I was younger, I would have loved to have been Giggs or Huckabee, or to have had the technique of David Beckham, or perhaps to have been Roberto Carlos. But if I look at myself and say, okay, look at you, Rhys, what attributes have you got? What player would you wish you could be? And I think my favorite player that I wish I could be was probably Didier Drogba.
Yeah.
At the time that I was watching football, his physicality, but the worldy goals that he would score, his ability, he scored that cracking header in the Champions League final for Chelsea when they ended up beating Bayern Munich. And, his ability he was quick, he was strong, he was confident, but he was still a team player as well. So I think of, in terms of what the attributes that I would want to be the complete footballer, it would be to turn myself into Drogba. And full credit to him, he was such an absolute pleasure to watch.
He was a fantastic player. And I like as well that when you were talking about the strength, and you sort of made sure that, it's not about going in to hurt someone, it's about having that strength.
Absolutely
so
not. Yeah.
You don't get tackled. But actually, there was also that element that to have that strength, it prevents you getting hurt. Because
definitely.
You see so many people backing out of tackles or going in sort of half-cocked, and they end up being the one getting hurt. So, that physicality and that strength has got to be there to protect you more than anyone else as well.
It'll reflect in body language. So like you said, like if you're going in half cocked, you're perhaps putting yourself in a body position where, like you say, you could come off worse off. But also, if you've got the body language of confidence, that may just give you that extra mental edge over your opponent. Absolutely.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, so I like that. So there's the 5 then from Rhys. We've got work rate, determination, teamwork, technique, and strength. A great set to build a Didier Drogba. Love it.
There we go.
Rhys, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, my friend. As I said before, guys, you will be able to see, if you're watching this on the Down the Local live show, all of Rhys's links will be underneath him. If you are watching it on YouTube, they will probably also be underneath him. If you're listening to this on Anchor FM, Spotify, or one of your other audio sessions, then all of the links will be in the description where you can find Rhys, and go see him, drop him a follow. But for now, guys, thank you very much, Rhys, and we will speak to you soon.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.